Hello and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We're glad to have you join us again. I'm Lydia Odije Ochi. President Muhammadu Buhari Wednesday hosts Mohamed Yunus Menfi, Chairman, Presidential Council of Libya, stressing that a stable or unstable Libya has implications for countries in the Lake Chad Basin area, including Nigeria. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
President Muhammadu Buhari again stressed that security of Nigeria was #1 priority to him, noting that unless a country or institution is secured, there's no way to effectively manage it. The president said he was happy that Mohamed Yunus Menfi, who is the chairman of the Presidential Council of Libya, could personally attend the summit of Lake Chad Basin Commission held in Abuja on Tuesday to discuss the situation in Chad and the implications for security in neighboring countries. Mohamed Yunus Menfi told President Muhammadu Buhari that Libya was fast evolving and now has one active government. He said democratic elections would be held in due course, adding that the historical relationship between his country and Nigeria in the areas of oil and agriculture meant that one country could not ignore the other. Menfi said Libya aspires for joint cooperation and reactivation of previous agreements with Nigeria. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NJ News.
Amending the governance structure to ensure inclusion and functionality of all arms of government, including reforms in the nation's security architecture, formed part of deliberations by critical stakeholders in the Northwest at the public hearing on Constitution Review holding in Kaduna. Mohammed Umar Ajinge reports.
In fulfillment of its mandates of bringing together stakeholders from various walks of life to speak to issues critical for the review of Nigeria's constitution, the Northwest Committee headed by Senator Kabiru Gaya convenes this public hearing.
You will agree with me that if we get those items through constitutional process of altering successfully, then our constitutional democracy will be set on the right pedestal.
The evolution of power among tiers of government, fiscal issues, macroeconomic development, federal structure and gender-related matters are among submissions by participants.
We recommend that the issue of new national minimum wage should be under the exclusive legislative list, not under the concurrent legislative list. And then we also advocate for autonomy for local government, autonomy for judiciary, and autonomy for legislature.
And I pray that my distinguished senators will give our women the opportunity to one day have as many of you opportunity.
At the inaugural session, the host, Governor Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, suggests decentralizing the Nigerian police and the judiciary.
I am of the strong conviction that we need to devolve powers in our country to rebalance our federation for better governance.
Stakeholders from 4 participating states of Kano, Katsina, Jigawa, and host Kaduna are expected to present concrete implementable contributions for the review of the 1999 Constitution. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Marajingi, NTA News.
President and Prime Minister of the interim government of Mali have resigned following military takeover. Adebola Brooksland Sunday reports that the resignation followed the mediation by a delegation from ECOWAS led by former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan, which is pressing to resolve the standoff.
An aide to the vice president said Mali's interim president and prime minister resigned 2 days after they were arrested by the military. Soldiers led by the interim vice president Assimi Goita arrested President Bandor and Prime Minister Moktawane and took them to a military base on Monday. Hours before the arrest, 2 of Colonel Assimi Goita's August coup leaders were dropped from their post in the cabinet reshuffle. Aide to the vice president Baba Sise said negotiations are ongoing for their liberation and the formation of a new government. A military official who was present during a meeting with Goita late on Tuesday said the delegation led by former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan raised the possibility of sanctions against the officers responsible for the takeover. Earlier, French President Emmanuel Macron, who condemned the move, called it a coup within a coup and raised the threats of targeted sanctions.
Coup d'État dans le coup d'État inacceptable.
On Tuesday, Colonel Assimi Goïta said the president and prime minister had violated the transitional charter by failing to consult him about the new cabinet. Goïta, however, through his aide, Babasise, promised that elections planned for next year at the end of the transition period will go ahead.
The interim vice president had no choice but to intervene in order to protect the transition and defend the republic.
The military's action, observers say, have jeopardized Mali's return to democracy and drawn condemnations from international powers. Adebola Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
All recovered looted funds, whether in foreign or local currency, are lodged into accounts created for that purpose with the Central Bank of Nigeria. Releases from those accounts are only effected with mandates from the Federal Ministry of Finance. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the Attorney General of the Federation and the Accountant General of the Federation disclosed this to the House Committee investigating utilization and management of recovered looted funds and assets.
The transmission of the proceeds of Crime Bill in 2017 to the National Assembly by the present administration was hinged on its commitments to ensure transparency and accountability in tracing, disposal and management of recovered loot and assets.
If indeed the National Assembly had passed the proceeds of Crime Bill, we cannot be here scampering and indeed perhaps scouting for information relating to the recovered assets, because that bill has indeed put in place an effective mechanism, both in terms of database, in terms of disposal, processes and procedure.
He added that in the interim, a committee comprising key agencies involved in recovery, valuation and securing of such recoveries is in place, pending the provision of a legal framework. On his part, the Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, while answering questions on withdrawals, borrowings, payments, remittances and other transactions in the asset recovery accounts, explained to the committee that recovered loot is a line item in the budget under internally generated revenue and is utilized as appropriated by the National Assembly.
There is a line recovery on the IGR of federal government, and we are making payment reflecting such, provision in the Appropriation Act.
We want to ensure that funds, public funds, there's transparency in the utilization of public funds. There's transparency in the management of recovered assets.
The committee requested for more documents for clarification. In another development, chairman of the committee on host communities has insisted that heads of public and private organizations invited to appear should avail themselves before the committee, as it will not entertain the allegations.
The things we requested from you are the things that will enable us go to the hinterland, particularly in the Niger Delta, and hold consultations with these communities and the various state government organs that are also responsible for the activities of the oil industry.
The committee is engaging oil companies and MDEs on implementation of agreements in oil mineral producing communities. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Disturbed over the escalation of violence and security breaches in parts of the country, the House of Representatives has convened a 5-day special summit on national security. The summit, House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila said, is a solution-driven legislative initiative which hopes to recommend innovative, practical solutions that could relieve the nation of the challenges of insecurity. In attendance at the summit, to be held behind closed doors, House in attendance President of the Senate Ahmed Lawan, service chiefs, traditional rulers and other stakeholders. With security situation in the country facing emerging threats, stakeholders in the nation's security architecture are perfecting plans to reduce unlawful ways of expressing grievances to ensure the corporate existence of the country. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that this is a thrust of discourse on NTA's Current Affairs program, Tuesday Live, where citizens' responsibility in tackling insecurity took center stage.
The growing phenomenon of violence attacks on lives and security infrastructure in some parts of the country is propelling stakeholders to close ranks in finding lasting solutions. Citizens' responsibility in tackling insecurity is proposed as a vehicle for exploring areas of engagement with the public and stemming the tide of avoidable tension that threatens communal living and social cohesion.
We must go back to basics. Okay. We must go back to our values. We must respect our laws.
We are not happy to see our men being slaughtered like rams on a daily basis in various attacks, in various encounters with men of the underworld.
The government will need to rebuild those police stations. That means increment in taxation or increment in the amount of resources that government requires to rebuild those very particular formations. Okay, what about the people officers that have been killed? What is their offense? Because they want to protect Nigeria?
Intelligence gathering, enhancement of security infrastructure for swift response to distress situation, and professional handling of crimes are also part of the strategic roadmap to curb the menace.
One of the solutions is to fight this thing head on, to face it head on, just like the Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka used intelligence to fight this war, and they got it right.
So all officers will always be willing and ready to receive actionable intelligence and swift into action, because we are waging war against the criminal elements.
Stakeholders advocate the provision of platforms to mobilize and engage youth into productive ventures and high-level community participation to break the ice and return the country to the path of peace and national development. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Reports just reaching us from Kebbi says a boat carrying over 200 passengers capsized in Wara, Ngaski local government area in Kebbi State. Rescue operations are ongoing. We'll bring you details in our subsequent bulletin. Federal government is deploying new technology that will enhance even distribution of power supply and regulate voltage in view of the growing demand for energy. Ahead of the deployment of the technological modified energy planning tools, capacity of manpower in the energy sector is being built across the country to equip them with knowledge and skills on the usage of the tools. Energy Commission of Nigeria is driving the application of the technology, which is aimed at efficient distribution of megawatts generated to areas based on their energy demand.
Modern energy modeling tools to adequately plan for energy demand and supply is a path that all the developed and fast-growing countries have followed.
So any form of generation has to be sustainable. We should be able to generate our energy from renewable, or if not, the energy we're generating from conventional, we should be able to achieve energy sufficiency and energy efficiency in the process. So all in all, this modeling tools is going to assist us to be able to project, know what we need at a particular period and how to achieve it sustainably. And this will form like a policy guide to government to tell them this is what we need at this time and these are the ways we can achieve it sustainably.
Meanwhile, Federal Ministry of Water Resources says gender mainstreaming is critical to policy formulation and attainment of water-related goals of the Sustainable Development Agenda. WASH correspondent Musbao Dan Wahab reports that a two-day workshop to validate policy for gender mainstreaming in the sector is ongoing in Abuja.
Limited access to safe water remains a disturbing challenge in Nigeria and other parts of the world, with governments and partners striving to close the deficit. Men and women are bearing the brunt, but not yet in gender representation in policy formulation.
If we take statistics of those that are in the jobs of water sector today, at least more than 70% will be men.
Having come to terms with this long-standing issue, Federal Ministry of Water Resources has noted that gender responsiveness and inclusion in governments maximizes the potential of policies, programs and projects to drive sustainable socio-economic development.
The draft policy for gender mainstreaming in the water sector addresses existing barriers that hinder the equal participation of women and men in access to water for various purposes.
It will actually accelerate action in achieving the mandate of the ministry and then ultimately the sector.
It was agreed that the policy will contribute immensely in closing the gaps in Nigeria's water sector while repositioning it for growth.
Policies are needed to reduce the vulnerability of the disadvantaged group and equally protect their means of livelihood.
So we need to bring women voice into decision making. We need to make sure that women participate in our capacity building activities.
We will stand by it, not only for you to bring out the paper. It will not be one of those policies that will be in the shelf. We will ensure its implementation.
Participants drawn from MDAs and civil society organizations are here to assess and validate a policy document for gender mainstreaming in the water sector. In Abuja, Musbau and Wahab, NTA News.
The Permanent Secretary, FCTA, Olushade Adeshola, recently led a team of experts to Lower Usman Dam Treatment Plant. The visit is to ensure continuous supply of potable water to residents. Ifeanyi Ezumba reports.
The Lower Usman Dam is located in Buari Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. The Permanent Secretary, Olushade Adeshola, who stated that the construction of the water treatment plant shows the administration's huge investment and the advancement of the welfare of her citizens, stressed that the FCT administration would continue to prioritize the maintenance of the dam for optimum service delivery.
We have a huge dam here that is providing water. It also helped me to appreciate the extent of the impact of the spill that occurred in the month of March, and it showed that it underscores the need to take the maintenance of our dam infrastructure very seriously.
The Permanent Secretary, describing as totally unacceptable the spate of destruction of government facilities, directed the Acting General Manager of Water Board to work with Security Department to ensure men of the Civil Defense Corps attached to the board are redeployed to protect facilities owned by government. In Abuja, Ifeanyi Ezumba, NT News.
Nigeria has pledged to continue to use culture as a tool for promoting peace and sustainable development. This was made known at a road show in Abuja to mark the 2021 World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development. Oyinaya Kaluoka reports.
The World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development does not only celebrate the richness of world culture, but the essential role of intercultural dialogue in achieving peace and sustainable development. The roadshow, led by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Information and Culture, is basically to sensitize Nigerians on the importance of using culture in achieving peace, and the theme of this year's event, which is cultural diversity in the COVID-19 era.
It can be used as an instrument for unity. It can be used as an instrument for social cohesion. And even in this day and age of insecurity,
China and Nigeria have a lot in common with diverse culture and large population. The Chinese government pledged to continue to support Nigeria with technology in promoting her culture.
China and Nigeria, we can support each other and fight against the COVID-19. And at the same time, we can use new technology.
The roadwork is part of activities marking the 2021 World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, held every 27th of May. Oyinaya Kaluoka, NTA News.
You're watching Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. Time for a break. More reports when we come back. Don't go away.
Visit our website on www.nta.ng for more news and updates, or follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now. You can also like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/NTA Network News. Stay connected and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our news live streaming at www.nta.ng/live.
Thanks for staying with us. Nationwide continues in Lagos with Awal Yusuf. Awal, good to see you.
Thank you, Lydia. Good to see you too. A bill seeking for the repeal of pension law, which grants staggering pensions and emoluments to past governors and their deputies, have scaled second reading on the floor of the Lagos House of Assembly. Musa Toliat has details.
The new bill, which was debated on the floor of the House at a sitting presided over by the Speaker, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, is titled A Bill for a Law to Repeal the Law which Provides for the Payment of Pensions and Other Fringe Benefits to Public Office Holders in Lagos State and for other connected matters. Some lawmakers argued that it would not be good to repeal the law in its entirety, as there are some important sections and stipulations that should be considered.
Total repeal, for me, is not good, but if you can amend it to something reasonable, at least they can take something home at the end of the day.
Whether the chief executive or deputy chief executive, I do not think that after office that should be denied all benefits.
Chairman, Committee on Economic Planning and Budget, Gbolahan Yishao, noted that the pensions law was passed 14 years ago and there is need to have a second look at it.
Security is paramount. These are people that have served the state, and they would have taken some decisions while they are at the ends of affairs of the state. So the security issue should still be looked at.
If we repeal the law in totality, we may give room for some people who want to amass wealth when they were in office, knowing fully that when they leave office, they are on their own.
Speaker, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, having listened to the comments and suggestions of lawmakers, threw his weight behind calls for amendments of the law.
Like we have our governors, we know the number of policemen that follow them, we know the number of cars, we know the number of SSS, and suddenly because of life after office, they will now expose them. I think it's not good enough.
He therefore mandated the House Committee on Establishment to work on the bill and submit their report in 2 weeks. In Lagos, Musa Tolian, NTA News.
And now to health. Breast cancer is not a death sentence if detected early. Routine medical checkup, if given priority, will no doubt reduce increasing death rate caused by breast cancer. In this report, Hingino John Adams tells us more.
Breast cancer has cut short the lives of millions of women the world over. Like a raging fire, it is still dealing death blows daily. Statistics by the World Health Organization shows that breast cancer is the most common type of cancer globally. In 2020 alone, 2.26 million cases were recorded. Same year, Nigeria had 28,380 new cases, with 18% of deaths from breast cancer.
The only way to beat cancer is to find it and identify it on time, so that you go see a doctor and take it out.
For prevention and survival, experts say each day counts. Although it is not Breast Cancer Awareness Month, they insist that a constant reminder of self-breast examination as well as routine medical checkup is important.
My next door neighbor is a survivor, we thank God, but it's not everybody that is as lucky as she is.
45-year-old Abosede Oduwale, a mother of 3, is battling breast cancer. She is one of the many cases recorded in 2020. Frail looking and dejected, Abosede has been in and out of the hospital.
When we went to the general hospital, they did some tests and they told us it was an invasive ductal and metastatic clear cell carcinoma.
Abosede's pains can only be imagined.
This woman is a widow. She's got three kids. Her eldest daughter is just 18 years old. We're going to be checking up on her mom and going with the treatment as it goes.
Abosede may be lucky because her cancer has not spread to other organs in her body. Some might not be that lucky. Her case is one of the reasons why early detection is crucial. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
For more reports on Nationwide, it's back to Lydia in Abuja. Lydia, it's back to you.
Many thanks, Awal. 96% of targeted Nigerians' population have successfully been administered with the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, while estimated 5,000 of them are fully protected from the virus, having received the second dose. Uche Ugochukwu reports that the Executive Director, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shaibu, disclosed this while giving update on COVID-19 vaccination in the country.
Vaccinating up to 1.9 million of targeted 2 million population, despite initial vaccine hesitancy, is a milestone for the agency. Those eligible for a second dose are therefore advised to check their vaccination cards for their next appointment.
Our goal is to do everything possible to educate, combat misinformation, and ensure confidence in the safety and effectiveness of vaccines.
So far, the success of the vaccine rollout was attributed to the federal government, stakeholders, partners, and donors' readiness to provide both resources and technical assistance.
The global community is facing great challenges regarding vaccine supply. Like most nations, this impacts the clarity over Nigeria's next shipment. While we have information that we may get the next consignment of vaccines by the end of July or August.
We hope that by the end of this year that we will be able to vaccinate 40 million people, and then in 2022 the remaining 60 million to make up the 112 million that is our objective.
In the face of vaccine supply uncertainty comes the good news of 2 billion doses of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine pledged to low and middle income countries by the end of 2021 and in 2022. Johnson & Johnson also signed a deal to supply 200 million shots to COVAX facility. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Still on health matters, efforts are currently being made by legislators to amend and strengthen necessary legal frameworks on health that will bring about quality, equitable, and affordable basic minimum health care package for Nigerians. Charles Alfa reports that lawmakers, the World Health Organization, and other international health development partners are using the 4th Annual Legislative Summit in Abuja to synergize and advocate proper funding and financial risk protection for the health sector amidst the COVID-19 devastation.
Nigerians, like those in other countries, have had their own share of death arising from the COVID-19 pandemic, following lapses and vulnerability of the health sector exposed.
Access to quality health.
What this year's 4th Annual Legislative Summit is therefore out to address is how state actors can be involved in strengthening universal healthcare coverage and security.
The demand of the sector from the government, both at the national or at the federal and state level, is what was agreed in Abuja in 2001, that at least 15% of the budget will be allocated for health. We have not achieved that, and that is what we are asking for.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, in a message to the summit, said attainment of the universal health care coverage is one of government's top priorities.
This administration is committed to the achievement of universal health coverage to provide a much richer basic minimum package of health services to meet common health care needs of all citizens.
System for investment in health is very critical. So as a part of the UN agencies, we are committed to help the government to to do that reflection.
Lawmakers, the World Health Organization are reviewing efforts to accelerate the implementation of the National Health Act in Nigeria. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
As the call for routine medical checkup intensifies across the globe, Ebonyi State government has commenced medical screening and treatment of its citizens for hepatitis and cervical cancer. Chika Okorie reports that the exercise holding in Abakaliki is entirely free of charge.
About 10,000 people are expected to be screened in this exercise for hepatitis B and C, as well as cervical cancer, for free of charge. In the words of the State Commissioner for Intergovernmental Affairs and Chairman, Medical Screening Committee, Mr. Ezenwachuku Eze, Ebonyi State Government is committed in promoting the health status of the citizenry. Considering the prevalence ratio of most ailments such as liver cirrhosis and cancer, which have been on the increase, the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor of Medical Services, Dr. Richard Nnabo, advised the public to come out en masse for the exercise, as prevention is better than cure.
The general public should go for certified, qualified, health workers. It's supposed to run for about 2 weeks every day, except on Sundays.
I tested negative in the B and the C. I am excited.
Health is wealth, they say, and so the people are expected to grab this opportunity of free Medicare for their well-being. In Abakaliki, Chika Okorie, NTA.
3 years after the National Disability Act of 2018 was signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari, reports indicate that some ministries, departments and agencies of government, as well as private organizations, are yet to comply with the full implementation of the Act. Now, voices calling for change of the narrative are getting louder. Kenneth Nanim reports that echoes from the capacity building on National Disability Act 2018, organized by the National Orientation Agency in collaboration with Center for Citizens with Disability, is the latest in the series.
The National Disability Act of 2018, which became law in Nigeria in 2019, seeks protection of rights of persons with disability and their inclusion into the scheme of things, that is, access to buildings, mobility, employment, and every other aspect of life, to enable them contribute their quota to nation building. The Center for Citizens with Disability observed that persons with disability are yet to enjoy the full benefits of the Act, as some ministry departments and agencies are yet to comply with the law.
Line ministries have a responsibility to implement the Act by giving priorities, integrating them in their programs, and ensuring that they are also employed in line with the provision of the Act.
The National Orientation Agency is affirming commitment to this cause.
The National Orientation Agency has as its entry point to advocate, to engage the public through public enlightenment processes, and the feedback to government on disability rights and the needs.
We must make room for every type of disability in Nigeria.
Full implementation of the Disability Act, they say, will discourage all forms of discrimination against persons living with disability. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Asma'u is in Sokoto with more stories on Nationwide. Asma'u, hello.
Hello, Lydia, and a warm welcome to Sokoto. Sokoto State Government has reiterated the need for restructuring and positioning the vigilante groups in the state to strengthen and assist the subsisting federal government security outfits in the state. Sheikh Muhammad Dati reports that Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal disclosed this at Gandhi Town in Raba local government, where bandits clashed with some local vigilante groups, leading to the death of 21 people. The report.
Governor Tambuwal said this becomes necessary in the face of security breaches being experienced recently in Raba local government area of the state. Tambuwal noted that vigilante groups in the state will be restructured and repositioned, as well as provide them with motorcycles and communication gadgets so that they can communicate with security agencies effectively. He said allowances would be provided to the vigilante members for the sacrifice they are making towards providing security to their localities, state, and the country.
I feel very sorry and I'm very touched with the death of these compatriots who led their lives in the protection and defense of their community. May Allah forgive them.
The governor commended the security agencies in the state for working hard, acknowledging that they are doing their best. He emphasized that the Security Council of the state, which the Sultan is a member, has been coordinating security activities in the state and had established peace in Silame, Binji, and Dangaza local government areas.
Soonest, inshallah, we shall see to the end of this banditry and the activities of bandits in this part of the state. Governor Tambol pledged that the state government will advance gifts and cash assistance to the families of victims of the recent onslaught in Rabah local government to ameliorate their sufferings. In Sokoto, Shehu Muhammad Datti, NTA News.
Zamfara State Governor Bello Muhammad has inaugurated the state chapter of the COVID-19 Recovery Responses and Stimulus Committee CARES. The multi-sectoral committee is to coordinate effective utilization of about 8 billion grant to be received by the state government to revamp the socio-economic activities in the state. Jamilu Ibrahim Gusso has more.
The COVID-19 Action, Recovery and Stimulus Program is an initiative of the Nigeria Governors Forum aimed at empowering the states of the Federation and the FCT to recover from the socio-economic negative effects of the coronavirus pandemic. The World Bank-assisted program is designed to achieve its goals through social transfer, livelihood grants, support to medium and small-scale enterprises, and ensuring food security. Zamfara State Governor Alhaji Bello Muhammad, who inaugurated the committee saddled with the responsibility of coordinating the implementation of the program in the state, says it will also work with the First Lady's office to address the issue of malnutrition among children and to facilitate rapid socio-economic revival of communities across the state.
The services that CARE will deliver to the common man of Zamfara State are: 1. Livelihood grant of 3.4 billion naira. 2. Food security, 3.4 billion naira. 3. Job creation through MSCs, that is 2 billion naira.
The 10-member committee is chaired by Alhaji Ibrahim Jibu Magayaki, Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning. Meanwhile, Governor Bello Muhammad has also inaugurated the State Human Capital Development Council, which is to work on 3 components: health, education, and labor force, led by Secretary to the State Government, Bala Bello Maru. Other committee inaugurated by the Governor is that of serviceable vehicles and plants, under the chairmanship of the State Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Ibrahim Jibu Magayaki Kaura. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
And that's it from Sokoto. We will take a break, and nationwide news will continue with Mina in Enugu thereafter.
Good evening and welcome to Enugu. The battle against illicit manufacturing, trafficking, and abuse of hard drugs is a battle the Enugu State government is willing to render every support to ensure that the society is rid of this menace. Deputy Governor Mrs. Cecilia Ezilo gave this assurance when she received in audience the management of the Akanu Ibiam International Airport Area Command of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. Susan Eze has the report.
Most often than not, societal vices such as armed robbery, gender-based violent acts, human rights abuses, insurgency, and many more are traced to different forms of drug abuse. To control the use of illicit drugs by the implementing agency, NDLEA, Deputy Governor Cecilia Ezilo suggests greater efforts in suppressing illicit manufacturing and trafficking of these narcotics to reduce supply. The agency, she said, must also adapt to new technologies in response to changing trends in abuse.
The agency must also provide its operatives with requisite training, technology, and expertise in order to build their capacity to respond effectively to new emerging threats in the drug problem.
As she decried the rate of drug abuse in Nigeria, the new commandant at Caribbean International Airport Area Command of the NDLEA, Rosanna Nodim, insists harmful drugs must be stamped out of Nigeria to stem the tide of violence.
We need assistance as far as checking this menace is concerned. What affects one affects all. If these drugs keep coming in, nobody is safe.
Nodim, who is new to the command, was on a familiarization visit to the government house. In Enugu, Susan Eze, NTA News.
The Nigerian Air Force 553 Base Services Group Enugu has arrested 4 suspects for vandalism of rail tracks belonging to the Nigerian Railway Corporation. Chinenwoye also reports that this is in line with the Minister of Transportation's recent directive to go after vandals and buyers of rail equipment in the country.
Briefing journalists while parading the suspects at the 553 Base Services Group of the Nigerian Air Force Base, Enugu, the commander noted that 2 of the suspects, Mr. Paul Obieze of number 24 Ajayi Street, Benin City, and one Mr. Shadrach Onyedika Wankwo, a security officer in Enugu, were arrested by the Nigerian Air Force personnel around airport roundabout in Enugu with a truckload of vandalized rail tracks belonging to the Nigerian Railway Corporation. The 2 suspects, he said, were arrested alongside 2 dismissed Nigerian Air Force personnel who served as their escorts.
As we are told, the person that's supposed to buy them was already waiting for them at Onitsha before they were intercepted. But the main culprit, that is the man behind it, called Mr. Prince, is at large. So it's now the duty of the Nigerian police to fish him out.
Air Commodore Isaiah Taiwo handed over the arrested suspects to OC Monitoring Unit, Enugu Command, SP Suleiman Jafaru, for further investigations.
We're going down to the mall interior, to the mall inside the carcass to fetch those behind this act.
Yes, I regret coming close to the truck.
In Enugu, Chinenwoye, NTA News.
And that does it from here. It's back to Lydia in Abuja for a continuation of Nationwide.
Many thanks, Mina. Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Oladaya Amao, has constituted a committee of serving and retired senior officers to conduct safety audit of all Nigerian Air Force operational and engineering units. Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani reports.
In a statement by the Nigerian Air Force Director, Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Edward Gabwet, the committee is to be chaired by the Deputy Theatre Commander, Operation Hattenke, Air Vice Marshal Abraham Adole, and will, among other terms of reference, analyze safety reports, conduct safety evaluation of Nigerian Air Force units, and recommend measures to enhance operation safety in the units. The Nigerian Air Force says the audit is a routine part of Nigerian Air Force operations to maintain and improve safety standards. However, the impending safety audit follows the air crash of 2 350I King Air Beechcrafts in February and May this year, which claimed the lives of the Chief of Army Staff and other officers and men of the Nigerian Army and Nigerian Air Force, as well as a missing Alpha jet, NAF 475, which went off radar on March 31st, 2021. Meanwhile, the committee is expected to submit its report not later than 18 June 2021. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
The Cross River State government's agro-industrialization revolution has continued to attract attention from individuals and other states of the Federation. The recent is the Yobe State government indicating interest in the procurement of Cross River State rice seedlings. Justina Etem reports that the Yobe State Agricultural Transformation Team recently toured the state's agro-allied products.
The rice farm is part of the federal government's grants to farmers for the cultivation of crops. Some of the farmers and federal government team commended the federal government's commitment to the success of the rice farming.
Every hands must be on deck. We want to increase the rice output so that Akwa Ibom will
We apologize for that challenge. We apologize for that challenge. We hope to take it some other time. Federal government's rice farm in Ikoresien, Akwa Ibom State, is now ready for harvest. It is part of the present-day government initiative to diversify Nigeria's economy. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Itainang, led a delegation to witness the harvest and processing. Nsika Kokon reports.
The rice farm is part of the federal government's grants to farmers for the cultivation of crops. Some of the farmers and federal government team commended the federal government's commitment to the success of the rice farming.
Every hands must be on deck. We want to increase the rice output so that Akwa Ibom will stand out and be one of the major rice cultivating states.
We are seeing how to produce rice in the southern part of Nigeria.
The Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Itainang, while inspecting the harvest of the rice, said Akwa Ibom State is blessed with fertile soil for the cultivation of rice in large quantity for consumption.
It is only very few of the loan beneficiaries that were able to have land in this place. There are other clusters where people are planting rice like this. Like you see the thresher and all these equipment that we have here, immediately it finishes threshing this quantity. We are moving the thresher to another site, which is on a higher ground.
The Ikoresien rice farm is being cultivated on 9 acres of land in Uyo. Nsika Okon, NTA News.
Now, officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in the southwest states have reviewed their submissions for the Commission's 5-year strategic plan and program of action from 2022 to 2026. Correspondent Oyeyinka Omole reports that peculiarities of each state in the zone were harmonized.
In a bid to conduct credible, free, fair, and inclusive elections, officials in the electioneering process in the Southwest Zone considered reports aimed at presenting a well-treated and articulated document at the National Validation Retreat for a workable strategic plan.
The objectives of the 2022-2026 strategic plan have been made more robust, just like I've just said, to capture the current trends in election management. And the use of technology has also been emphasized.
Having identified grey areas in the expiring 5-year document, the zonal retreat is to improve the 2022 to 2026 program of action.
Taking into consideration their respective state experiences and peculiarities, so as to identify specific issues that should be factored into the implementation of the documents.
Present at the retreat are resident electoral commissioners from all the states in the Southwest Zone, administrative secretaries, heads of departments, and electoral officers. In Ibadan, Oyeyinka Omole, NTA News.
We now go back to our earlier story from Calabar, where Yobe State government has indicated interest in the procurement of Cross River State rice seedlings. Report by Justina Etten.
The 7-man contingent is in Cross River State to understudy Governor Ayade's agricultural revolution projects. The team is conducted around some of the agro-value chain projects, which includes the cassava and starch production factory, cocoa processing factory, rice mill, groundnut mill, poultry farm, and more. Overwhelmed by the agricultural revolution drive of the state's government, the Yobe State team describes the feat as second to none, assuring partnership with the state to revitalize agriculture in Yobe.
Very soon, the Yobe State government will come in for these seedlings, and it is our hope that the agency or the Ministry of Agriculture will be ready to supply these seedlings to Yobe State government.
Cross River State's Commissioner for Agriculture and that of Commerce speak on the huge benefits that await the people of Cross River States from this project.
The kind of agriculture we've gone into is commercial agriculture.
that is meant to produce food not only for Cross River State but for entire Nigeria as a country and for export.
The whole essence is to create trade, is to create food on the table and money in the pockets of Cross Riverians.
The Yobe State Agricultural Transformation Team also visited the Ayade Industrial Park, housing the noodles factory, Kalachika, and other projects. In Calabar, Justina Etam, NTA News.
You can get more news and updates on www.nta.ng or follow us on our Twitter handle at NTA News Now. You can also like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/NTA Network News, and also stay connected and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Also remember to watch our news live streaming at www.nta.ng/live.
And that's a wrap on Nationwide. Thank you for being a part of it. Before we go, remember to join NTA in the stand against rape and rapists. I'm Lydia Ojiji Ochi. Do have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.